I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports. Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online, and a new era right here tonight as we get ready to count you down to tonight's 1-800 Car Cash Mud Summer Classic at Eldora with a special Wednesday night edition of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show right here on Speed 77. I'm Jacob Seelman, alongside my co-host Tom Baker here tonight at the 77 Round Table. We're excited, Tom. You're excited. We have got two fantastic guests tonight, and it is going to be an action-packed show. I'm glad to have you along for the ride for this new era because we've got call-ins, we've got Mason Mitchell live tonight. Does it get any better than this? We've even got dirt at Eldora.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool thing for us here, a brand new era, as you said, for Race Chaser Online and Speed 77 Radio, and yeah, pre-Eldora. I mean, we got what I think is the coolest truck race ever coming up here in just a while, and we've got Mason Mitchell on the show with us to talk ARCA. Lots of news coming out of ARCA here the last week or so, and we're going to dig into that, and a little bit of open wheel stuff as well, but just a lot of ground to cover here, Jacob. Let's get started.
Let's get started, especially since we are leading into the trucks, and I know we're dedicated to the short tracks, and they are back on the short track tonight and on the dirt to boot, and I know we focus on the regional touring series and mostly the pavement here on this show, but since we're leading in, let's go ahead and talk trucks real quick because they just finished up time trials and are getting ready to start the qualifying races here in just a couple of moments at Tony Stewart's Eldora Speedway. And, you know, we've been talking about these young kids who are trying to make their mark, Tom, and we're talking about another one of them tonight who's already won a Truck Series race this season. He's on the pole for race number 1 of the heat races tonight and was the fastest guy in time trials. No surprise, the 51 Kyle Busch Motorsports truck, Eric Jones, quickest on the dirt. What's really surprising about that, though, this is Eric's first time on dirt ever, period, bar none.
I was going to say, I don't remember Eric ever running dirt before, so yeah, that is an amazing feat for him, and I think it shows a little bit of, actually a lot of versatility on his part to be adapting so quickly to this type of a scenario. Of course, we know the Kyle Busch trucks are always fast everywhere they run, but to be able to come out and pull something like this off against some of the racers that he's competing with who have run on dirt and won on dirt many, many, many times, that's pretty amazing.
It really is, Tom, and I think what makes it even more amazing is the fact we're talking about this kid. He's never run on dirt. He's on the pole. Yeah, he's in the best truck in the business, but to boot, he's only 18 years old. So the youth movement is continuing to be strong in the Truck Series and the ARCA Series, the K&M Pro Series. We've got a couple of young kids to talk about tonight, and we'll talk to the first one live here in just few minutes, Tom. I'm certainly excited to have Mason Mitchell back on the show, but looking at some of the action from over the weekend, we had the ARCA Series, we had the K&M Pro Series East. We're getting ready to have late models back this weekend with the Southern Super Series. But what stands out to you from this past weekend? Because despite the fact that Mother Nature tried to intervene, we still did have some good racing action.
Well, we really did. I think probably the most personal thing that stands out to me is our first ASCS Carolina Sprint Series race got rained out over the weekend. We're having to do it this Saturday. But, no, for the racing that did get in, actually a couple things. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was the situation with IndyCar, because was kind of unique. They ended up having to run 2 races in one day. And to be honest with you, I thought that worked out really well, and I give IndyCar a lot of credit for being able to pull that off. Rain killed the race on Saturday, so they ran one Sunday morning and one later on in the day, and despite really challenging conditions and a pace car that ended up hitting the wall, despite Juan Pablo not being in it, it ended up to be a pretty good couple of races there, and I was really, really happy that Sebastian Bourdais got the win there. So as far as the racing world in general, that's a big part of what stood out, and of course, you'd have to talk about the ARCA race, and as you say, Mason Mitchell going to join us live in a little while, but everything that's going on in ARCA right now, a lot of newsworthy stuff. Good to see Mason get the win, and a lot of things right now that could possibly seriously affect the championship chase in ARCA going on in terms of one of the top contenders switching rides.
And that's still, the interesting part about all this is it's still not completely confirmed, Tom. There's been no press release guaranteeing what car Grant Enfinger's going to be in come Friday night for the ARCA Racing Series event at Lucas Oil Raceway at Indianapolis. There's been multiple reports, including from Ray Dunlap, one of the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series pit reporters, that the Gallagher Motorsports machine is going to be where Grant Enfinger is going to be running here on Friday night, but we've not seen a press release from GMS Racing. We've not seen a press release saying Enfinger has left the team he's driven for all season, Team BCR. So it's a lot to think about, and I'll be honest, I'm not sure that we're going to know anything until these cars hit the track Friday morning for practice and we see which car Enfinger climbs into.
Yeah, and that's what's so crazy about this. It seemed to come out of absolutely nowhere. And, of course, multiple sources have reported this, but yet, as you say, there's been no confirmation as to the exact nature of where he's going and what's going to happen from any of the principals involved. So just a very, very strange and surprising situation developing here in ARCA, and certainly is going to have a significant impact one way or another on the chase. I mean, on the championship picture, Mason Mitchell and Grant both going at it hot and heavy, and it looks like it comes right down to the wire, but where Grant ends up is going to have a lot to do with, how things play out the rest of the season.
That's absolutely right, and that's going to be the big catch here. Where does Grant Enfinger lie, and does he come with a championship-caliber team? We know GMS Racing gets support from RCR. That could be an interesting move right there. So it's kind of a wait-and-see game right now, Tom, until we get to Friday and see what happens. But you're right. This could have a significant impact on the championship, and this is going to be a storyline that we'll be following all the way till the cars hit the grid for Friday night's race, which will be live on Fox Sports 1 at 9 p.m. Eastern. And race fans do want to add, if there's a subject that we're talking about tonight that you want to have your voice heard on here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, you can call us live at 347-989-0783 and get in on the action here on 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Tom, that's a good feature. It's a new feature, and we like it.
We love it. Absolutely love it. And that is really a big thing for us right now, to be able to offer the opportunity for the listeners to call in live and talk to us, talk to our guests, talk about what's going on this on our show here, and definitely going to be a great show here. But again, make sure that you pick up the phone and call and talk to us here. We got a lot going on tonight.
We have got a lot going on, and we have got a lot to get to. Update from Eldora that Eric Jones wins heat race number 1, and he will have the top spot for tonight's 1-800 Car Cash Mudsummer Classic. That 51 truck on it again. And that 51 truck going to start from the point, I believe, for the 6th time so far this season, Tom. I think Kyle Busch has won somewhere along the lines of 5 trucks? 5 poles, rather, trucks. Kyle might have 5 trucks, though. The way that team's been running this year, it seems like they've pulled out about a new truck every race. Yeah,
wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you really have to consider it. And one of the things that you and I talked about when we were looking at who we thought might have a chance to actually go win this thing, I mean, I picked a flyer and picked Bubba Wallace, and got to tell you, I mean, certainly looked pretty good at this point, running right up there with the rest of them. And, boy, it's great to look at this and see somebody like a J.R. Hefner in the mix, a Ken Schrader in the mix. I mean, this is when it gets fun as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely, and I think Bubba qualified in time trials. I believe he timed in 6th when everything wrapped up in time trials. So Bubba going to be, I believe, in heat number 1 that just wrapped up. So the KBM teammates definitely trying to make some noise right here, and I like that pick. If you want to talk about a guy who's aggressive for the championship, Bubba Wallace is one who wants a title, and he's not afraid to go out and try and get it here. It's really going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. Dirt's the great equalizer, Tom, and as we go throughout this show, we're going to talk more and more about it. Jeb Burton getting the update. He wins heat number 2. Bubba Wallace finishes 2nd in heat 1, so that should put him 6th for the main event. But Jeb Burton, Eric Jones, the front row for tonight's 1-800 Car Cash Mudsummer Classic at Eldora. We're going to take our first caution flag on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, but when we come back, it's a lot more, including talking with ARCA Racing Series winner from last weekend, Mason Mitchell. Race fans, if you want to talk to Mason or to one of us here tonight on the show, call us right now, 347-989-0783, and get in on the fun. You're listening to Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. After this business, we're back on the air. Stay with us.
Packers,
Vikings,
Red State,
Blue State.
We come from different places.
Uptown,
Downtown.
We come to different conclusions.
half empty,
Half full.
But no matter how different we are, we're all connected, and we can all make a difference. That's why United Way brings people, expertise, and resources together to improve the education, income, and health of our communities, the building blocks for a better life. When we live united, our efforts, magnified by others, add up to real change. Children succeed in school, families gain financial stability, the health of our neighbors improves, and suddenly, so do our communities. But real change won't happen without you.
Live united.
So let's look beyond our differences.
Live united.
One by one, let's make a difference. Let's reach out a hand to one and influence the condition of all.
Live united.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Sign up today at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
Powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser online right here on Blog Talk Radio. Jacob Seelman and Tom Baker around tonight's roundtable, not only counting you down to tonight's Mud Summer Classic at the Eldora Speedway, but also talking everything pavement, late model, modified, and NASCAR Touring Series related here on this show. And appreciate our partners at Stock Car Steel and SRI helping us make this show happen every week, whether we're on a Wednesday or because we've got racing or night on Thursday night, Tom. Always fun. We're going to have Mason Mitchell here live on the show in just a few moments to talk about his ARCA Racing Series victory, and what a win it was for him. I mean, you look at some of the statistics. He finished second 6 times out of the most recent 12 ARCA Racing Series races going into the past weekend's event at Chicagoland. You knew the win was coming, and you knew it was coming in a big way when it got there. Just a breakthrough for him, and I can't help but think now that the floodgates are opened, it's just going to keep right on going.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, you know, where do you go with that, to be honest? It's, again, we talk about drivers all the time who have just have had magic years and how the momentum just works in your favor. And, yeah, there's no question about it. Now that the floodgates are open, as you said, I don't see any reason why it just can't continue. And, in fact, you know, I think it'll probably go right down to the very last race of the season.
And that's what's going to make this so interesting right here is the fact that this championship battle, we've seen Mitchell and Enfinger go back and forth all season long. Frank Kimmel in third. He's a virtual afterthought at this point. And now you look at all this and go, well, we've got a 2-horse race for the championship, but we don't know which one of the 2 horses is going to win it.
Well, exactly, and you've got 2 very, very stout horses too. Obviously, there's a little bit of an X factor right now with where Grant ends up, but certainly either Grant or Mason are capable of pulling this championship off. And boy, Mason has just worked so hard to get to this point, and I would really, really like to see them both slug it out right to the end. So hopefully Grant will end up in a situation where he'll be able to, stay competitive for the championship.
And I think that's what's so interesting. We've heard people talk about, Grant won at Daytona, but that's not indicative of the 1.5-mile tracks, and that's not indicative of the entire season because he's won on a super speedway where basically you don't take much to go to victory lane at Daytona because it's about the draft, and then he's won on a couple of short tracks, and we were waiting to see how his performance would shake out on the 1.5 miles and the intermediate tracks, Tom, and that seems to have been his undoing so far as Mason Mitchell grabbing the points lead. Is these intermediate tracks, Grant's not been quite as good as Mason has.
Well, that's true, but you know what? Funny things can happen when you get toward the end of the season and the championship's on the line, and it doesn't take much from lady luck or just circumstance. It doesn't take much of a shift there either way. So when you start looking at who's better on which type of track and all of that, those stats are all, it's fun for us to sit and talk to on talk shows like ours, but at the end of the day, it's 2 drivers in 2 race cars with a whole lot of variables, and we know both drivers are capable of going to the front and winning races. So I don't really, for me, I'm just not sold that we ought to be focusing on all those stats. The main thing here is where's Grant going to end up, and from there, if they're both capable and incapable of equipment to win the championship, I think that all of those stats you're going to see are going to end up falling away because anything Grant's done up to this point is going to be basically invalid when he changes teams. It's going to be about where does he go, how does the new team fare on different types of tracks, where are their strengths, where are the weaknesses, is there going to be a period of adjustment where they're going to have to kind of learn to work together. There's a lot of variables here, so I'm not sure you need to be looking at all those stats. I think it's just really where Grant ends up, and then how quickly he and the new team can gel together and get him up front. I think right now, if somebody said, well, who would you pick to win the title, I'd have to pick Mason Mitchell right now just on the basis of the fact that, Grant's going to be dealing with a brand new situation here, and, Mason's got the stability and also, of course, now the momentum too. So I think right now you got to look at Mason as the heavy favorite.
And how crazy is that we're talking about Mason Mitchell as the heavy favorite when at the start of this year he struck out on his own and started his own team, a la somebody like an Alan Kulwicki. Obviously, that was a slightly different situation being in the Sprint Cup Series, but you look at Mason, last year he was driving for established teams, mostly with Empire Racing and the Rulo brothers last year, but this year he's doing it all on his own. For him to be the championship leader is an incredible job right now, and certainly is going to be something to keep an eye on the rest of this season. That's the story.
Yeah, it really is. And again, I mean, I love these stories and these developmental series when you see a team like Mason Mitchell's team who really are not, I mean, we're not talking about a team with the most funding here. We're talking about a team that's really kind of a homegrown team, if you will, and Mason has just done a phenomenal job all year long and really proved that he belongs where he is, and he's earned every bit of what he's gotten. It's just really, it's a very interesting scenario, and I love the drama coming down the stretch here of okay, all of a sudden now where's Grant going? I mean, that's from a fan's point of view, that's an interesting plot twist. I'm not so sure Grant would agree with us, but I mean, that's just a really interesting little plot twist here as we come down to the end of this thing, and it almost hits the reset button in a sense, because now you've just got a whole new wrinkle to factor in there. So I'm excited to see where this goes from here.
I am too, and you know what? It's not so much our opinions that I'm worried about now. Let's turn to the driver and see what he thinks, because we've got Mason Mitchell on the line to talk about his first ARCA win and a whole lot more. Mason, first off, glad to have you back on the show. We had you on just before the season got started, and you were just striking out with your new team, and now halfway through the season, you finally got that breakthrough win. You're leading the championship standings. Is this more than you could have expected going into 2014?
Well, thanks for having me on again, and it was an awesome feeling to get the Thermal Technology Services muslin and applesauce and Applebee's Sport Fusion in Victory Lane there at Chicago for the first time. But heading into the season, myself and a couple people around me, we had really high expectations, to be honest, but realistically, people just, I think they wanted to see us just succeed with top 10 and stuff like that, but it's awesome to see the success being so good this year, and I think we're turning a lot of heads and surprising a lot of people.
Let's talk about this, because you finished second 6 times in the last 12 races before last weekend at Chicagoland, and I know you had talked multiple times, not just to Fox Sports, but in a lot of your interviews, that it was starting to wear on you being so close and just not having that last little bit to get into victory lane. How tough was it for you guys to keep the focus these last couple of weeks, knowing that you had the speed and it was just waiting for that right break?
Yeah, it was hard at times, but I knew that myself and my team could do it, and that we were capable of doing it. We just had to be in the right position. It had to be our day to win races, and it's been a long time coming, a lot of hard work, and a lot of shouting and hollering and arguments to get here, but we finally did it, and we're looking for more, though.
I know you guys are looking for more, especially going into this weekend at Lucas Oil Raceway, a racetrack where you guys were very, very solid in the past, and it's different than Chicagoland, obviously, but what's the mentality now that you guys have finally got that first win? And I think the real question here, too, is what does it mean to you guys knowing that this wasn't with a big established team in the ARCA Series? This was your team, your guys, and you built it from the ground up and made it happen.
Right. I mean, that just makes me so much more proud, just of myself and my team and the people that I've surrounded myself with, and how much hard work we put into our program to make it succeed and take down the big teams and be at the top of the points for now. And I'm looking really forward to this weekend at Lucas Oil Raceway Park in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I've ran there one past time in the ARCA Series presented by Menards back in 2012. Actually, my second start, and we led some laps and ran up front all night, finished 5th. So got some extra confidence, obviously, with the win heading in there, but looking forward to it like always. But, I really think we can back it up 2 for 2.
Let's go directly to our first caller of the evening, and we'll bring in Zach, and let's hear from Zach here tonight on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show. Zach,
hey guys,
you are live on the air with us.
All right, thanks for having me. It's my first time on any type of show, especially. And first of all, I want to congratulate Mason Mitchell there on your win. That was really great to see. My question is, granted, this win brings a lot of momentum, and how are you planning to use that momentum going forward, as well as visiting some of these tracks in the second half of the schedule for a second time, or tracks that are similar, like obviously we have Kansas at the end of the year, which is similar to Chicagoland, where you got your win, and like Salem, places like that. How does that kind of benefit you for the second half of the season?
Well, first off, thank you for congratulations. But I look forward to each and every race, and obviously we get the momentum on our side and the confidence behind me that we're able to do it. And we're coming up to tracks where we've been to before, or myself has been to. So that obviously helps. And then with it being I think 7-race stretch here of nonstop racing, it's going to be a lot of wear on all the crew guys to get stuff prepared. But everybody's going to keep working hard and keep it up. And there's some tests coming up that we're going to try to prepare ourselves even better for. So we're going to keep on doing what we've been doing so far. It's been working out pretty good, but we're just going to keep on working harder and never giving up.
Awesome. I had one more question for you, Mason.
Okay, go ahead.
With the dirt tracks, does it create is it like I guess you could call it the Talladega or the Daytona, the wild card of the stretch coming down here towards the end of the ARCA race season?
It can be at times. I wouldn't say it's as hectic as Talladega and Daytona, just because you tend to get spread out once in a while there. But, with it just being so different, because that's not what you race on every week, it definitely throws a curveball at myself and my team, but we'll be prepared. We have some notes from the past. I drove on the 2 races last year, so I'm looking forward to it. It's obviously something different, but it's 2 that are marked on your schedule that you definitely have to be really good result-wise to get through there to win the championship.
All right, Zach, thanks for your call. We appreciate you taking the time to call the show and let all your friends know about us. We're on Thursday nights normally, Wednesday night tonight for our special, but Thursday nights and Monday nights normally here on Blog Talk Radio. So let all your friends know, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Zach. Mason, I got a question for you here. With all of this coming out now over the last couple of days about what Grant Enfinger is up to all of a sudden and the change in his situation, how does that play into your preparation or your thinking or your strategy going into this next race? Does it change at all what your focus is, or are you just kind of worried about what you guys are doing and letting Grant's situation take care of itself?
Yeah, I'm really not focused on anyone else, to be honest. I don't know if that sounds rude or not, but we're trying to stay as focused as we can on our program and try to keep making it better. I'm just glad I'm out of the drama for this week, because last week we got in that wreck the last lap. So we're all good though, and he's got to do what he's got to do to try to win the championship too.
Well, that's understandable, and I think that's a good way to be, just kind of looking in front of you and not necessarily looking around, but certainly an interesting development. Jacob, let's take a break here. Let's hold, if we can. Mason, just hang on for us here. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back with you on the other side, and we got another caller with a question for you as well. So if you'll just hang out, we'll take a break here, pay some bills, and when we come back, we'll have more with Mason Mitchell and your calls here on the all-new Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on a special Wednesday night. Eldora already underway and lots of stuff to talk about yet. We'll be back right after these words here on Blog Talk Radio.
For every turn, a twist. For every start, an untimely finish. one who listens it. For every number, a nation. For every celebration, a brawl. For every split second, years of work. For every heaven, hell. For every good old boy, a good old girl. For every curse, a prayer. For every ounce of order, a jug of chaos. For every twist, there's a turn.
The odds of a young girl being discovered by an industry insider while singing to herself pumping gas? 1 in 300 million. The odds of the daughter of a clergyman from Severn, Maryland spending 11 weeks at number 1 on the U.S. singles charts? 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 6 Grammy Awards? 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of selling over 40 million records? 1 in 800,000. The odds of this musician and performer having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 110. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
Powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online, now on Blog Talk Radio. Jacob Seelman and Tom Baker around tonight's special Wednesday night round table. We've got Mason Mitchell on the phone line with us. We've got callers calling in to find out what's going on and share their opinions here on tonight's show, which is such a cool thing for us. First time we've gotten the opportunity to do that. And Mason, before we wrap up with you here, we're actually going to send in our last caller right here because he's got a question for you from Kyle. Kyle, what's your question for Mason Mitchell here tonight on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show?
Hey, Mason, it's Kyle Magda. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing fabulous. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I talked to you at Pocono, and you were knocking on the door of winning your first ARCA race, and here you are. You just won Chicagoland. I mean, what does this do for the whole team and yourself?
Definitely boosts my confidence, and I think it obviously helps the team too, with them knowing that every single person on this team is capable of winning, and just how proud everybody is, because we literally all started together at nothing and had no cars, and we had to go find a shop and everything and put it all together, and it's like a little team that could, and we finally were able to do it, and it's pretty unreal, but it is real, and we're going to keep on digging, and we're working as hard as we have before, if not harder.
Yeah, Mason, you raced that Lucas Oil Raceway back in 2012. You had a strong run. I mean, what are your thoughts going back into this race on Friday night?
I mean, I feel really confident. I feel like we can get it done again. But we're just going to have a good practice, good qualifying run, make the correct changes, and not get worried about where we qualify or where we practice at. You have 200 laps there, and the track changes from day to night. So you can't out-adjust yourself. You got to build adjustability in the race cars, and we have good pit crews, so we'll have good pit stops, and I'm looking forward to it, to be honest.
Yeah, Mason, is there something you like about that track that just fits your driving style?
I mean, it's a really fun track. It's like you just don't go to a flat track and run up top against the wall. So just going there and you're doing that all night long is so much fun, and it makes for difficult passing at times, but it makes for interesting racing because it's a lot of side by side, and you can sometimes you might have to beat and bang or move somebody just to get by them, but if you have a good race car and a good one that can rotate through the center and off the corner, you should be really good the whole race.
I tell you, Kyle, we appreciate you calling in and appreciate you sharing your thoughts here as we get set to rock and roll for this weekend. And debut tonight on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Thank you for sharing with us, and tell all your friends we're on here. Our normal nights, Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, right back here on Blog Talk. Just share it around. We're looking to grow the show as much as we can. And Mason, want to turn back to you now really quickly before we cut you loose. As always, know you can't do it by yourself, and there's always sponsors, supporters, and those people that help make it happen. Want you to have an opportunity to shout out to those people. Who makes it happen for Mason Mitchell?
Well, it's a huge list, but I always forget to name a few. So I'm gonna do my best, and obviously it's a huge one this weekend since we got a huge win, but I just can't thank enough all my awesome partners and marketing sponsors we had this year with, of course, Thermal Technology Services, Musselman's Applesauce, and Applebee's. I jumped on board to Chicago, providing us with dinner both nights there, and enjoyed a great showing. And what a way to create that partnership with the Victory Lane trip. And just, of course, with my parents and all my family, friends, everybody back home in Iowa for supporting me for so long and still believing in me and knowing that we could do it. And, of course, all my crew guys and all the guys that volunteer for me and for this team that make it happen because, I feel like I got some of the best guys down here, and they're so passionate about what they do, and this is their life, and it's mine too, and we're going to do the best we can to end up on top of this final 2014 season.
Well, Mason, we appreciate you taking some time to talk with us again here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Wish you all the best of luck going into Friday night's Scott 200 at Lucas Oil Raceway, and who knows, maybe we'll have you back on the show here before too long talking about your second career victory.
I appreciate it, and that sounds good, and hopefully we can have a good day at Lucas Oil Raceway. And thanks for having me on, and you guys have a great night.
Thanks, Mason. Take care. Good luck.
All right, Tom, let's turn the page here now and talk another regional series because we've got one more driver to hear from that we got a chance to talk to earlier in the week. And talking K&M Pro Series East Racing from over the weekend as they went to the Columbus Motor Speedway in Ohio, so a little bit further towards the East Coast, but still in the Midwest. And Rev Racing and the Drive for Diversity have pretty much had a stranglehold on that racetrack over the last couple of years, and they proved it again in 2014. Third win in 4 years for the team at that racetrack, but with three different drivers. This time it was a driver who had not won since 2011, and what a sweet return to victory lane it was for him Saturday night. Sergio Pena, the last time we were really talking about him was back in 2011 when he burst on the scene battling Joey Logano at the Toyota All-Star Showdown.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it's great to see Serge back at victory lane again. My history with Serge goes all the way back to his junior karting days when I briefly announced for the World Karting Association's Manufacturers Cup Series, and Serge was racing in that particular series, and I gave him the nickname Snake at that time, the Snake, because he was just so good at coming out of nowhere just when you least expected, and he was really good in traffic at that point, which is why I tagged him with that nickname. You never knew when he was going to strike, but and Serge has just really done well for himself, and it's been a few years since he's been in victory lane, but it isn't because he forgot how to drive a race car. It's just how tough the series is, and good to see him back. And yeah, and it's hard to understand, Jacob, why the Rev Racing cars have had such a stranglehold on that track, and even more so since they did it with three different winners. But, boy, whatever they've found for a setup seems to work across the board for that team. And Serge went out and proved it again by getting the checkered flag last week.
Yeah, he did, and what made it even more interesting was the fact that we got a chance to catch up with him after the big win on Saturday, Tom, and actually one of our newest correspondents, our Mid-Atlantic correspondent, Marshall Gabel, got a chance to catch up with Sergio following that win at Columbus on Saturday, and we've got that for tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, race fans, so sit back and take a listen. Sergio Pena on the win at Columbus on Saturday night.
Marshall Gabel with Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Sitting down on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show with Drive for Diversity driver and most recent winner in the NASCAR K&N Pro Series East at Columbus Motor Speedway just last weekend, Sergio Pena. Sergio, congrats on the win first off, and thank you for taking some time to talk with us. I know this really felt like redemption after losing the ride with Rev Racing a few seasons ago and then having to go through all the struggles you did to begin this season. Can you talk about the emotion and what's been going through your mind after this breakthrough victory?
Oh, man, yeah, it was such an awesome weekend. You know, I hadn't had a win since 2011, back when I was driving for Rev Racing the previous time. To be back in victory lane with Rev Racing in the 4-car was just an indescribable feeling, really. The race was a battle, had a lot of fun. You know, I've always had a lot of fun at Columbus racing on the short track there. So, yeah, you know, it's just an awesome weekend.
The winning move came going into Turn 3 when you made a 3-wide pass and never looked back. What was that move like from the driver's seat, and then what was going through your head on the green-white checkered restart when you held off the advances from the Turner Scott Motorsports camp?
Yeah, you know, early in the race there, we fell back to, I think it was like 10th or 12th, and I was kind of thinking my hopes of winning it were over just because, you know, it was about halfway through the race, and I was trying to kind of conserve tires there for a while, and me and Ben Rhodes kind of hooked up together, and he was picking them off, and I was just kind of following him through there and got a chance to restart third there on the inside with just, I'm not sure how many laps to go, but I think it was about 50 to go. Cameron Haley had checked out. I think he had a full straightaway lead on second place at one point. And I was like, all right, you know, I'm going to have to go for it here, or else he's probably going to check out again, and my shot of winning this thing will be over. So we had a restart there. I actually didn't know that we were 3 wide. Someone told me that after the race. I guess me, Cameron, and Ross Chastain were all 3 wide there going through 3 and 4. The cool part about Columbus is you have to race rough, but everyone understands that, so it's a lot of fun short track racing, kind of bumping and all that. So we were able to get the pass on him, hold the lead for the rest of the race. Man, I was kind of nervous for the green white checker, but I knew that's what we needed because he was a little better than us in the long runs. I would get a little bit tighter and tighter throughout the run. We were able to kind of get some distance on him, you know, in a 2 or 3 lap run. So I knew a green white checker was what we were going to need, and sure enough, it fell that way. So that was super awesome.
You've had struggles to begin this season. You're outside the top 10 in the point standings, but how much do you think this win can really turn around your season?
Yeah, it has been a rough season so far. The beginning part, at least, first half was a struggle. You know, the group learning each other. This is my crew chief's first year in the series, so everyone's kind of learning how everything works. And the past couple weeks, though, we've been good. I think we would have had a shot to win New Hampshire last weekend. We're running third, 30 laps into the race in the right front blue, so we're still scratching our heads about that one, but we felt that we had a car strong enough to win that race too. So the main thing is that we're fast right now, and points at this point are kind of non-factors. We're just going for wins basically right now, you know, so we're going to hopefully get a couple more before the season's over.
Until this weekend, you hadn't won in the K&N Pro Series since 2011 at Greenville-Pickens Speedway. How hard has it been to overcome this drought and finally swing back into victory lane?
Yeah, man. The feeling of winning a race is just, you know, indescribable as a driver and as a crew chief, as everything. You know, everybody in the whole organization is just so pumped over it. It's been quite some time for me, and I know that I'm capable of doing it. I know my guys are capable of doing it. It was just a matter of getting a weekend together, getting a good solid run. You know, we were afraid this race wasn't going to get in because of the rain. I was actually in my steel car, my backup car, because when the right front blew in New Hampshire, our primary composite car was, you know, front clipped and all that, so we didn't have time to get it together. So we were kind of iffy going into the race about it, but the good thing is that no one gives up. Everyone works really hard. I think it showed this weekend. So we're going to keep on going. The drought is over now, and we're gonna keep pulling these wins out.
I know when I spoke with you a few weeks ago in Richmond, you spoke about the possibilities of getting opportunities in the Nationwide Truck Series. How much does this win help further those potential plans?
Yeah, it definitely helps a lot. You know, you gotta be in victory lane. You gotta be in the spotlight at all times if you're going to move up. The cool thing about it is that, you know, a lot of the Cup Nationwide truck teams are watching these races. You know, it's really, really cool to see getting tweeted to by some of the Cup drivers and some of the Nationwide team owners and all that after the race is a great feeling. It's really reassuring. So I'm going to keep on working hard on trying to get something lined up in one of those series for next year. Man, just keep on plugging away. It's such a tough sport, but if you can win some races, it definitely helps.
Moving forward, I know you're about to do some testing for the upcoming road course events at Virginia International Raceway and Watkins Glen. Do you feel like that will be your next chance to rack up some more victories?
I think the next chance we have to get a victory is at Iowa. I know we're going to take this same car that we won with this past weekend. It's our steel body car, so it's kind of more fitting for the bigger track like Iowa. So I really think we're going to have a great shot at that. I'm really excited. Iowa is one of my favorite tracks that we race at, so really looking forward to that. But the two road courses for sure. I've road raced my whole entire life. That's basically my whole entire background, from go-karts to formula cars and all that. So I'm really, really looking forward to this. I think we're going to take a good car to these road courses. We're going testing tomorrow. Basically, the whole entire field will be out there testing at VIR tomorrow, so we'll get a good view of how we stack up against everybody, and hopefully we're going to go to these two road courses and just get a couple more wins.
And finally, I know you've been with Drive for Diversity most of your early career here. Can you just talk about your involvement in that program?
Yeah, it's been so great being a part of the Drive for Diversity program. I'm so thankful that NASCAR has had me back. You know, I was there 2010, 2011. I left the team to go race with Shiggy Hattori in 2012. Just an opportunity that I couldn't turn down. So when all else fell through, the Drive for Diversity and Rev Racing had me back this year, and man, that was just awesome. I wasn't sure if they're going to take me back or not, just because that's kind of one of those deals. You leave the team and come back, and wasn't sure how all that was going to work out. But really thankful for everybody at NASCAR for having me back. Like I said, it was kind of a struggle here in the beginning of the season, but I'm hoping I'm making the program and everybody at NASCAR proud with this first win of the season, and we're going to have some more to come here, so just keep an eye out for that.
And, of course, we know that Drive for Diversity and Rev Racing help you a ton, but obviously you can't do it alone, so we want to give you a minute to talk about who makes racing happen for Sergio Pena.
Yeah, well, first of all, NASCAR and the Drive for Diversity program, I'd like to thank them for everything that they do for me. I want to thank my crew, Wolfie, Tanner, Craig, Anthony, all the guys that work on my car and spot for me. It's been a rough year, and nobody's given up. We just keep on working harder and harder, and I think it showed this past weekend. Actually, the past couple of weeks we've been super fast, so really, really want to thank them for not giving up on me and continuing to believe in me. Man, Rev Racing, Jefferson, Max Siegel for the opportunity. Can't thank them enough for that. Without them, this win last weekend wouldn't have been possible, so we'd like to thank all of those guys.
Thanks again for talking with us, Sergio. We hope to talk with you again later in the season and wish you the best of luck in your upcoming events.
All right, Tom, so we've heard from Sergio Pena, and we know how big the win was for him, and now the K&N Pro Series East takes a weekend off this weekend before they head to Iowa. We've seen Rev Racing. They've struggled. They started off really strong with Daniel Suarez and then kind of tapered off a little bit. Now they've got a surge of momentum with Sergio Pena, no pun intended. But who do you think has the chance to be the next Sergio Pena in the K&N East Series real quick before we take our final break?
Well, if we're talking who do I think's got the chance to win, I think I'm going right back to I'm going to go out on your 2-inch limb and say Ben Rhodes. He's until somebody, and I understand he didn't win, haven't won the last couple, but Ben is just he's the strong point right now, and I've got to pick Ben, but I'm going to tell you, I think there's a couple of other guys that are awfully close, and I think one that might be considered here is the driver who won a couple of weeks ago, and when you talk about racers who are due to go on a bit of a tear, I don't see any reason why Jesse Little couldn't end up back in victory lane again. But it's just it's tough to knock off the Turner Scott boys, and Ben Rhodes certainly is leading that parade right now.
Yeah, he is, and I'll tell you right now, we go to Iowa, you throw the West guys back in, and I wouldn't count out Greg Pursley either so far as maybe getting the victory lane, or even David Mayhew, who's been so good. But, one that I want to keep my eye on is a guy we've talked about a couple of times, Kaz Gralla. If you want to talk about guys who either haven't won or haven't won in a long time, I think that young man, just 15 years old, he's learned a lot this year, and I think he could potentially break through and get a win this season. He's learned a lot from his Turner Scott Motorsports camp, and I'm waiting to see what he can do with it here in these last couple races of the season. We know road courses are the great equalizer. He's done some sports car races this season, so keep an eye on that 31 car in the last few K&N Pro Series East races this year.
Yeah, I think so, and I think Gray Galding's another one that you got to keep your eye on as well. I think Gray's another driver who has still got some things to say before this season's out. So it's been a great season so far, both for the East and the West Series. If you ask me, I think it's just been fantastic on both ends, and I can't wait to see what develops.
All right, so with all that being said, we're going to continue watching the battle, but we're also right now going to take care of some business. It's our final break of the evening, and when we come back, we're going to roll the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show to conclusion right after this business. For our final caution flag, you are listening to Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online, right here on Blog Talk Radio. The checkered flag flies when we come back.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading material supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a Motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, POM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit StockCarSteel.com or SRI-Supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to our first ever live call-in edition of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show right here on Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker. Around tonight's roundtable, we're just about set to wrap up tonight's show, and before we do, want to give a quick update, getting ready to go into the last chance races at Eldora for the 1-800 Car Cash Mud Summer Classic. Tonight, Eric Jones, the pole sitter for that event, fast timer. He wins qualifying race number 1 to put himself in the number 1 spot. Jeb Burton going to be joining him on the outside pole. He won qualifying race number 2. Ron Hornaday starting 3rd, winner of qualifying race number 3. Ryan Blaney going to start outside row number 2, the winner of qualifying race 4. And race 5 going to Johnny Sauter. He's going to start P5 tonight. Those are your heat race winners. The last chance lineup, which is going to take place a few minutes after we go off the air. Jody Knowles on the pole for that one. The other drivers involved in it, 9 drivers, and 5 of them will transfer to the main event. Jody Knowles, Joe Cobb, John West Townley, Cody Erickson, Michael Annette, Jennifer Joe Cobb, Norm Benning, last year's Cinderella story, Jared Landers, and Tyler Young, the 9 drivers fighting for the last 5 spots in this event. Going to be interesting to see how it shakes out, Tom. But before we close tonight, one more really big event that happened over the weekend that I want to talk about, and of course that was the Oxford 250. And give a call to Travis Benjamin, who won the race in 2013, takes on tires with about 80 laps to go, and what does he do? He cuts through the field like a hot knife through butter and becomes the first person in 5 years to win the 250 back-to-back.
Yeah, Travis really did a fantastic job in that race. And again, when you have fresh tires at Oxford, that's a huge advantage. Travis knows how to get it done. Won it last year, did it again this year. I mean, what can you say? It's amazing enough, and it's special enough to be able to do that once, to be able to win that race once. To do it back-to-back is really, really something. And so congratulations to Travis and his team. That was he beat a star-studded field for that win, and he earned every bit of it. That's a marquee event, not just in New England but nationwide. And boy, so many drivers have won that race and then gone on to success in the sport. And just great to see Travis pick up a checkered flag and get his second win in a row like that. That is just really, really amazing to do that twice in a row.
Yeah, it definitely is, and certainly as we continue on, give a call to Austin Terrio. He finished second. The main driver, one of the hometown favorites, was looking for his first 250 win, and he got tires with Benjamin and just couldn't catch him before Benjamin got to the front of the field. But the young man who won an ARCA Series event earlier this year definitely deserves a shout-out. He came so close to winning the 250 this year. I'm sure he'll be back to try to get the crown in seasons to come, Tom. But, you know, you were talking about marquee events, just real quick, and we'll talk a lot more about this on our show Monday night when we're right back here on the air for the Motorsports Madness show. But real quickly, the All-American 400 being dropped from the super late model marquee event status. We look at that now. It's going to be a pro late model race, shortened to 300 laps. If you're talking about marquee events, number one, we know the drivers hate this decision. But now do you look at the Oxford 250 as maybe being elevated to that fourth jewel in the crown?
Oh, boy, that's a great question, Jacob. I hadn't really thought about that. I don't know. I mean, you'd certainly have to consider it, I would think. Let's put it this way. It's a golden opportunity for the past folks and the folks behind the Oxford Plains Speedway to make that case. That's for sure. If there was ever a time when you had a chance to stake a claim as being one of the crown jewels, now's the time, because the All-American 400 clearly going to a pro late model race from a super late model race is not going to be a part of that that group anymore, though it's still, I really believe it'll still be a fantastic event and a special race now for the pro late models, or probably the event for the pro late models. But yeah, Jacob, that's a great question, and I think, I think it certainly would have that right to be considered a crown jewel event. It has been in New England and on the East Coast for a long time, and I think it's only right that it be looked at as part of that group.
All right. So, you know, with all that being said, I think we have had a pretty successful opening Blog Talk Radio show, Tom. And, you know, first off, want to say thank you to Mason Mitchell for taking the time to come in and talk with us live on the show. Thanks to all our guests who came and shared their thoughts here on tonight's Stock Car Steel show. And also, of course, want to thank our partners at Stock Car Steel and SRI Supplies for helping to make this show possible, race fans. If you want to learn more, head to stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com for all your shop supply and scrap metal needs. And I want to amend what I said earlier, because we'll actually not be on the air Monday night for Motorsports Madness at 7 p.m. Eastern. First time, I think, in about a year that I can say that, because we're going to be at the finale for the Jack in the Box Summer Shootout, Tom, and that's always exciting. It's Champions Week. We've got 2 races in 2 days, and still a couple of championships left to decide. There's a couple divisions we know the answers to, and still a couple that we don't yet. So I'm looking forward to it. Got the chance to be up in the tower calling the races last night with Tony Stevens and the crew from Speedway TV and MAV TV. Certainly enjoyed that. Looking forward to being back on the pit lane, though, on Monday night. Always a fun atmosphere down there, and I think we might see some first-time winners before we're done at this year's shootout as well.
Well, I think so, too, and I know they had a fireworks display during the week of 4th of July, but I have the feeling that on Monday and Tuesday they're going to have a few more as well, probably on the racetrack.
Well, that's true, but they are going to close the shootout on Champions Night with a massive fireworks display. I was told last night by Speedway officials that this one actually is going to be bigger than the 4th of July fireworks display. I don't know how you top it to begin with, but as Tony Stevens said to me on the microphone the other night, we get to blow stuff up. Who doesn't love that?
Yeah, that's why God made guys, isn't it? To blow stuff up. That's exactly what we were put on the earth for. So, yeah, that'll be a lot of fun, and we'll be back in the saddle on Monday nights 1 week from Monday, but of course we will be back on a regular Thursday night time slot next week for the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show, and again, from now until hopefully forevermore on our brand new Blog Talk Radio call-in style format. So let all your friends know that the place to be on Monday and Thursday nights is right here, Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online on Blog Talk Radio. For Monday nights, of course, Motorsports Madness, and Thursday nights, the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. And thanks also to Brad Evans for being our producer tonight. Brad, coming from our Turn 5 New York affiliate show, lending his immense talents to the production side of things and helping us kick off this very special time for all of us here at Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online.
I second it, Tom, and I'll tell you right now, I think it's no better time than the present to say we're done here on the Night Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. But race fans, the racing's not over. Head over to Fox Sports 1 right now, the last chance race for the 1-800-Car-Cash Mud Summer Classic for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series about to kick off. Live from Eldora Speedway, Smokes Palace is ready to race, and we're ready to go watch some racing. So, for our executive producer, Brad Evans, and my co-host, Tom Baker, I'm Jacob Thielman. Race fans, keep it off the wall until we meet again, and check your listings. We may just be on the air Sunday night for a special edition of Motorsports Madness. Stay tuned to RaceChaserOnline.com for more information on that. But until we meet again, keep it real, race fans, and let's go enjoy some racing. Good night, everybody.